Greetings to all. The topic of my assignment 2 that I've chosen is impact of pandemic on the secondary school students in Ra district. The first part that I will be discussing today will be the summary and evaluation. The title of the article is The Closure of School Due to COVID-19 and the author is Webmaster. The summary of the articles that I've chosen is that secondary school students in Ra district experiences different scenarios during the outbreak of COVID-19 that compromises a learning experience through new technologies, strategies and techniques to attain information. The government of Fiji has implemented new techniques to engage students in learning during this trying time, where teachers were to report to schools to aid teaching materials for home-based activities. Parents who do not get access to technology could access to resources from school, hence parents were also encouraged to continue accessing resources from website, families, Facebook, so that their children can be engaged during this pandemic. The Ministry of Education also emphasized the roles that parents will be playing at home while the school is closed. Parents act as a guide in monitoring their children at home to see that their children are engaged in studying. Hence, it can be stated that due to this pandemic, it has really impacted the students as they were forced to move away from their traditional methods of studying to technological advancement that poses complexities affecting the nature of students and the way they perceive information. The strength of the articles that I've read is that the author provides evidence to support his argument, such as the Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts have announced a further extension of school closure until the 12th of June. Classes were expected to resume on the 16th of June 2020. Teachers are to report to school where possible from Monday 20th of April 2020 to facilitate teaching materials for home-based educational activities. Parents are also encouraged to continue accessing supplementary resources available on websites, Google Share Drive, families, Facebook, and the ongoing radio programs on Radio Fiji 1 and Radio Fiji 2 to keep their children engaged during this trying time. The weaknesses of these articles are: the first weaknesses that the author had made is that he did not provide sufficient evidence to support most of his arguments. There were no index referencing provided, and he only gave few points to identify ways in which students could perceive information despite the closure of school. The second part of discussion is the questions that I've developed through these articles is that what are some of the impacts of the pandemic on the secondary school students of Ra district? The first impact of the pandemic is that students were left behind as the school had been closed for 1 month to prevent the spread of pandemic. Since the cases in Fiji kept on increasing, the closure of school were extended to 3 months. For instance, Education Minister Akbar stated that it is important that we keep our schools to remain closed for the health and well-being and safety of our children. Ideally, children should return to school when we are COVID-free. We want to be absolutely sure that our schools are safe when classes resume. The outbreak of the pandemic also poses a lot of negativity to students' learning, especially those in Ra district, as most of the students come from rural areas where they have network problem. For example, most of the supplementary learning materials were uploaded on media, where parents are encouraged to continue accessing supplementary resources available on websites Google Share, families and Facebook, and the ongoing radio programs on Radio Fiji 1 and Radio Fiji 2 to keep their children engaged during this trying time. After evaluating the source, I do agree with the author's reason for closure of school, as COVID-19 is a deadly virus and it can spread easily from one person to another. Taking necessary precautions and mitigation measures will help to save lives in school, especially to our future leaders. The second question that I've summarized and evaluated is Where did the secondary school students in Ra district get their resources from during the lockdown? The students from Ra district got their supplementary resources from government website. For example, as stated in the article, that parents are encouraged to continue accessing supplementary resources available on website, Google Share Drive, FAMIS, Facebook, and ongoing radio programs on Radio Fiji 1 and Radio Fiji 2 to keep their children engaged during this trying time. The less fortunate are those that do not get access to network and technology, so therefore parents had to travel to schools to get the supplementary resources for their children. The Minister of Education also stressed out the importance of parents' role during the lockdown will be paramount, as they will be spending most of their time with their children. So therefore, I do agree with the author for the reasons of the closure of school, and hence if necessary actions would be taken and precautionary measures had to be taken and implemented so that we can prevent the spread of COVID-19. Thank you.